Hey everybody, Bam Collectibles here, back for another statue unboxing review for you. Today we're going to be doing two statues, one of Kid Gaara and the second of Gaara at the pinnacle of his character development in the series. Now before we move on, I want to say a special thank you to Steven, who is a longtime subscriber and supporter of this channel, who reached out to me and said, hey, can I send this statue to you to review and you can send it to me afterwards? So it wasn't donated, just shared to me, borrowed to me to be able to review, but during the process of this, I actually fell in love with the statue and I had to buy one for myself. But if it wasn't for you, Steven, it wouldn't have pushed me over the edge to want to add this to my collection. The reason why this statue threw me over the edge is because it's an emotional statue. It captures the moment in the show where Gaara finally realizes that he's been loved all along, and the way that they did this in this statue is just mind-blowing. Sume did an amazing job, but before we jump into that, we'll jump into one other statue by Zero Tribe Studio of Gaara as a child. Without delay, let's jump on in. Here we have the Zero Tribe 1/6 scale version of Kid Gaara. He's definitely one of those characters in the series that we got to see more of an in-depth look as to why he is the way he is, why he went through the hurt, the pain, and this statue really represents it. So we'll see Zero Tribe's logo on the bottom. On the base, we have that love kanji right there, and all along the bottom is kind of like a sand-colored texture. As well here, right, we have sand with the cracks, and all these different notches and grooves will house parts soon. The first part that we'll see is actually the sand effect piece that goes on the right side of the statue. As you can see on the bottom, we have the notch with the magnet that will attach itself to the base. And then the look of this effect piece is as if it's going upward, beginning to form a sand shield. Kid Gaara was sculpted as one giant piece altogether. Looking at the very bottom, we'll see that notch that allows him to connect to the base, as well as the texturing on the outfit was done really well. When you do a 1/6 scale type of statue, usually it does allow for more room to do stuff like texturing. Adding the teddy bear into the statue was, it hurt so much to see something like that, right? It's reinforcing his age, his innocence. I imagine that being one of his, few friends growing up, just because, he was alone by nature, how he grew up and how he was raised. So the head sculpt was done really well too. We can see kind of the round, chubbier looking face because he's a child. And then also just his eyes. You can see the pain and anger that he's feeling in this moment for what this statue is representing. As we learn later in the series, the sand that protects him is an extension of his mother's love. Now, this is the sand that is protecting him in more of the sand shield look. We can see the notch on the bottom with a magnet there. And then also, if we look closely on the two sides, we'll see magnets there that help reinforce it. It's such a larger piece that needed quite a few magnets to hold it up. You'll also see there's some indents on the side of the sand. That's actually going to be where some kunai are going to be installed on the side. Here we have those right there. Now, they're not full sculpted kunai. They're just partially because they just slide right in there. If it was pointy, it would have a difficult time going into the sand, so they just cut it off with a little notch so it slides into place. And I'll show you how that looks right here with everything installed. It really gives the presence as if somebody's trying to attack him, and the sand did preemptively form around him to protect him. I gotta say, I never thought I'd own a Kid Gaara statue, but I'm happy to add this to the collection. Now, it's painful to watch, to see, but it's part of his character and development, as an individual. He's one of my favorite in the series, as I've said before, so really cool to have. But also included in this statue is like an edition size card here. It'll say how many were made. There's a picture of him. So this is just almost like a certificate of authenticity that they include to know that it is an authentic version of this statue. With that little guy reviewed, we'll go ahead and jump into the main event, which is Sume's Gaara, a father's hope, a mother's love. It was so nice to be able to showcase both of these statues in one video. I love the theme and both of them, how they tie together. On the base, we'll see his name, Sume's logo, and then also the title of the statue. On the front, we'll see there's where the headband logo or nameplate goes, the nice little red trim, and all along the top is those sand effects that are nicely textured. Tons of notches scattered all throughout the statue because they have a lot of different effect pieces that were sculpted separately. On the very front of the statue, you'll see that is where Gaara will be standing, and also we'll take a quick close look at the texturing on here. It feels exactly like sandpaper. It's not too harsh to the feel, but you definitely want to have different parts touching each other or they will scrape the paint off. Here is Sume's standard nameplate for each statue. I love that they did sculpt it separately. Again, it takes away the risk of any breakages happening, and it just attaches with that simple magnet. Now, something cool that they did for the statue that they haven't done before, to my knowledge, is they have a separate base that they sculpted on the side because they give you two options in which you can pose Gaara on the statue. So that's the same notch we saw at the other one, and looks very similar to that front piece where I said Gaara is going to be standing on the big base. For this next piece of Gaara's mom, it was sculpted as all one giant piece. We'll see two steel rods impacted in the bottom that help it to attach to the base securely. We'll see the texturing going on, the nice looking hands. I love how that sand's kind of dripping down as well. There's her sandy looking head sculpt here. I'm not gonna be able to showcase this for too long because it's extremely heavy, but we have some notches in the back where sand effect pieces will be installed as well soon enough. All right, with her installed, I do have to discuss one thing that a lot of people did mention. So with this statue, if we zoom in real close, you'll notice there's something called a seam line. So that's where you can clearly see where it was attached to the statue, and it's pretty ugly to see. I kind of think that Sume should have maybe added something other than just sand on here, maybe some dust cloud or particles or some rocks. That usually helps to break up from having so many different seam lines, which you'll see all throughout the statue. So they're not a deal breaker for me, but they're definitely an area of improvement that I think could have been had. So here is one of many sand effect pieces that are going to be installed separately onto here. They're going to have the same issue when you connect them, where you see that clear line that exists where they're attaching themselves to the statue. I don't want to get too harsh about it. It's just statues should feel organic and natural. So when you have these giant black seam lines showcasing where parts were installed, sometimes it takes away from the feel of it. Though when the statue does get all together, it kind of fades away from the distance. So on the back, again, I mentioned there are some notch effects that we have to install different sand pieces onto there. So we'll go ahead and get those onto there. There's 4 different ones that do get installed. The one thing I do love about having all these different effect pieces installed, though, is it gives it a sense of a dynamic feel to the statue. Gaara's pose later will be kind of static, but the way that he feels like he's controlling the sand around him is just incredible overall. So most of you know I'm a Naruto CCG or Naruto card collector. Here is my Kage Gaara card. This is one of the higher end versions of the cards that exist out there, but this was one that I had sent away for grading. Here's one of my raw versions. Can't wait to get the graded version back to share. And then also we're going to bust open a Naruto CCG pack. It's been a while since we have done this on the channel. Crazy thing is, if you didn't see my video that I made, I have about 200 cards that were sent away to get graded. There is going to be an insane video coming up in the future where we're going to be able to showcase and share those returning. I don't know how I'm going to do it. If I'm going to do it maybe like a live stream, I don't think I can do 201 video. That would be absolutely crazy. But we'll go ahead and take a look at that in the near future when we get those returned from M&T Grading in Canada. And here is our rare for the pack, Kisame. So we'll go ahead and showcase as well the edition size plaque, the staple thing that Sume includes with their statues. You can see I have 1780, so pretty high up there considering there was 1800 of them made. Jumping into the first of 2 sculpts included, we'll see his head was done separately. We'll take a look at the rest of the body. We'll see that notch on the bottom where he connects to the base. I love the posing for Gaara, right? He's usually a pretty static character overall, not moving very often. He kind of uses things from a longer range. So I love the pose for this, and they also did a great job adding some texturing on the character himself. We can see along the cloth there, the sandiness to his gourd on the back there. Love the decals that they did. The war outfit we can see here is perfectly done as well. Just a good job. Everything's solid. So quality control can sometimes be hit or miss for them, but there's definitely a hit for the one that I got, thankfully. Here we have again one of 2 head sculpts that they have. The notches on the bottom are different, so you don't confuse which head goes with which body. The shading in the hair was done great, and my gosh, man, this head sculpt, this is great. They did an amazing job at that. There's the other one over here. You can see one has the eyes facing more upward because he's sitting lower, and the other one is him more looking straight out. As I mentioned before, you get that second sculpt of Gaara. We have him standing here confidently, a really museum pose for this 1/8 scale statue. So not something I would be interested in having on the statue compared to the other pose, but it's nice that they give you that option available. Plus, it's a free statue that's sculpted that you can have anywhere in your collection if you want to. So now to dim down the lights and see this bad boy in person. Absolutely gorgeous. This is my favorite Gaara statue to date. It definitely evokes an emotion with having his mother in the background there. I love how Gaara feels like he's controlling that sand around the sides. You can see it just going up around him. Just an amazing job by Sume. We'll go and get everything else in here so you can see how it looks side by side. This statue is a holy grail for me, probably one of the 2 best Gaara statues out there, maybe next to Ryu Gaara so far. So I hope you enjoyed today's video and showcase. I love being able to share these with everybody. So I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to enjoy more statue unboxings, and I will see you in the next video. As always, everyone, do what you love and love what you do. Bam out.